There is a fatal mistake, a nearly invisible detail that most men make when they hug a woman without even realizing it. And in that tiny moment, her subconscious instantly decides, this man lacks real masculine energy. The craziest part is that very few men on this entire planet actually know how to hug a woman the right way. Most guys are winging it. They're copying what they saw in movies or repeating what their friends do, and they have no idea they're quietly killing attraction before they even open their mouth. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 deadly types of hugs that destroy chemistry instantly. I'll break down exactly what each one communicates to her subconscious mind. And then I'm going to reveal the 4th hug, the one almost nobody talks about. This 4th hug is what separates the men who stay burned into her memory for weeks from the men she forgets the second she walks away. Stick with me until the end because this one detail can completely change how women respond to you. Not just in hugs, but in every interaction you have with them. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Mary Smith, host of the Mindful Senior Living YouTube channel. Now before we go any further, I want you to pause for a moment and think back to the last time you hugged a woman. Maybe it was on a date. Maybe it was someone you were meeting for the first time. Maybe it was a woman you've known for years. I want you to replay that moment in your mind. The body language, the way your arms moved, the way your body felt, the way the hug ended, because here's something most men never realize. A hug is not just a greeting. A hug is a conversation without words. And women feel that conversation instantly. You see, when a woman hugs a man, her brain is not simply processing the fact that there is physical contact happening. Her nervous system is reading dozens of signals all at once. Strength, safety, intention, confidence, presence, emotional awareness, leadership. It all happens so quickly that she can't explain it logically, but she feels it. And those feelings shape everything that happens next. Many men believe attraction is built through words, through humor, through compliments, through clever texting. And yes, those things can matter. But the truth that most people never talk about is that the female nervous system responds far more powerfully to how a man feels than to what he says. A hug is one of the fastest ways her body gathers that information. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. For thousands of years before modern language, before dating apps, before social rules and expectations, human beings relied on instinct, on physical cues, on subtle emotional signals. The female brain evolved to detect safety and strength in the men around her within seconds. Not minutes, not hours, seconds. That ancient system still lives inside every woman today, and that's why a simple hug can create either comfort and intrigue or distance and doubt. Now here's the part I want you to hear clearly. If you've ever had a hug that felt awkward, stiff, rushed, or confusing, if you've ever hugged a woman and felt her body pull away quickly, if you've ever walked away thinking, that felt weird, I don't know what happened there, it does not mean there is something wrong with you. It simply means no one ever explained what your body was communicating in that moment. Most men were never taught this. Society gives men mixed signals about physical contact. Be respectful, but be confident. Don't be too forward, but don't be weak either. Show interest, but don't make her uncomfortable. Lead, but don't dominate. Those contradictions leave a lot of men frozen in uncertainty. So when a hug moment happens, they default to whatever feels safest. And ironically, that safe reaction is often the very thing that quietly kills attraction. Let me share a story that one of my clients told me during a coaching session. She had gone on a first date with a man who, on paper, seemed fantastic. He was successful, intelligent, polite, and they had great conversation for nearly 2 hours. They laughed, shared stories, and even talked about meeting again. But when the date ended, something small happened. He hugged her goodbye, and she said the hug felt strange. Not bad, not creepy, just strange. His arms wrapped around her lightly, but his body stayed far away. His chest leaned back as if he was afraid of getting too close. His hands barely touched her back. And the entire hug lasted less than 1 second before he quickly stepped away. She told me something that stuck with me. She said, "In that moment, I suddenly felt like he was nervous around me, like he didn't fully own himself." And even though the rest of the date had gone well, that small moment planted a subtle seed in her mind. She couldn't explain it logically, but she felt it. and that feeling stayed with her. They went on a second date, but the chemistry never really grew. Not because he said anything wrong, not because he wasn't attractive, but because that initial physical interaction had quietly framed how her nervous system experienced him. This is what most men never realize. Women often feel attraction before they understand it. Their bodies respond first, their minds analyze later, and a hug is one of the most powerful triggers for that process. Inside the brain, there is a structure called the limbic system. It's the emotional processing center that controls bonding, safety detection, and instinctual reactions. When physical contact happens, especially close contact like a hug, the limbic system activates almost instantly. Within a few seconds, the brain is already answering silent questions. Does this man feel grounded? Does his presence calm me or tense me up? Does he feel confident in his body? Does he respect my space? Does he feel emotionally aware? And perhaps the biggest question of all, do I feel good standing this close to him? Most of these questions never reach conscious thought, but the answers shape how she sees you moving forward. This is why two men can say the exact same words, yet women respond to them very differently. Because one of them communicates grounded presence through his physical energy, and the other communicates uncertainty without realizing it. Now, before we dive deeper, I want to ask you something. Have you ever experienced the opposite situation? Have you ever hugged someone who immediately made you feel relaxed and comfortable? Maybe it was a friend, maybe a family member, maybe even someone you just met. But when they hugged you, there was a sense of warmth and calm. Not forced, not awkward, just natural. That feeling didn't come from the hug itself, it came from the energy behind it. And this is where the psychology becomes fascinating, because physical contact triggers the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin increases feelings of trust, comfort, and emotional connection, but the brain only releases it when the interaction feels safe and authentic. If the hug feels hesitant, the body stays guarded. If the hug feels aggressive, the body becomes defensive. If the hug feels absent, the body disconnects emotionally. But when a hug feels grounded and present, the nervous system relaxes. And when the nervous system relaxes, connection becomes possible. This is why the way a man hugs a woman can influence her. How she remembers him hours later, sometimes even days later. Now I want to make something very clear. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about awareness. It's about understanding the silent signals. Your body communicates before you say a single word, and once you understand those signals, you gain emotional intelligence that most men never develop. You begin to notice subtle reactions. You start to feel the rhythm of interactions. You become more present, and presence, more than anything else, is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can have. If you're already starting to see how powerful this is, take a second and tap the like button. It helps more people discover this. Now, let's talk about the first hug mistake that quietly destroys chemistry. And it's far more common than most realize. The weak hug. You've probably experienced this one before. Arms barely touching, bodies leaning away, hands resting lightly on the shoulders. Sometimes it turns into that awkward half-side hug where one arm goes around and the other person is barely involved. There's often a quick pat on the back, like you're greeting a distant relative at a holiday dinner, and the whole thing ends fast. On the surface, this hug looks polite. But emotionally, it communicates something very different. The nervous system interprets it as hesitation, uncertainty, a lack of grounded presence, not because the man is weak as a person, but because his body suggests he's unsure. And when uncertainty shows up in physical contact, attraction often struggles to grow. Women frequently describe this in subtle language. They might say something like, "He seemed nice, but I didn't feel a spark," or, "I don't know, something just felt off." What they're describing is not logic. It's emotional resonance. Let me tell you about another story that illustrates this perfectly. A woman once told me about 2 different first dates she had in the same week. The first man hugged her with that weak, distant style. It felt polite but disconnected. The second man hugged her in a way that felt calm, steady, and present. Neither hug was inappropriate. Neither hug lasted long, but one felt forgettable, and the other felt grounding. She couldn't stop thinking about the second man's presence, not because the hug was dramatic, but because it felt real. And that difference changed how she experienced the entire interaction. This is why small details matter so much. They create emotional impressions that words alone cannot replace. In a moment, I'm going to explain the second hug mistake, the one that pushes women away almost instantly, and it's made by men who think they're being confident. But before we get there, take a moment and ask yourself honestly, which type of hug have you been giving without realizing it? Because awareness is always the first step toward change. And once you start noticing these patterns, you'll see how powerful these moments are. In the next part, we're going to explore the second and third hug mistakes, including the one that silently makes women feel invisible. And once you understand those, I'll show you the hug dynamic that creates real emotional connection. Now, let's talk about the second mistake. And this one is fascinating because many men believe they are doing the right thing. They're trying to show confidence and passion. This is what I call the aggressive hug. You've probably seen it before. The hug starts fast. The arms wrap tightly, pulling her in suddenly. The squeeze is strong, sometimes too strong. The hug lasts longer than needed, and sometimes the hands start drifting to places they shouldn't. Now let's slow that down for a second. From the man's perspective, he might think he's communicating confidence. He might think he's being bold. But from the female nervous system's perspective, something else is happening. Her brain is running a safety scan. This is something women's bodies are wired to do. Long before modern society, women had to determine if a man's presence was safe or threatening. That instinct still operates today, even if we're meeting someone at a coffee shop instead of in the wilderness. So when a hug feels too intense, it's pressure. And pressure activates caution. You might not see it on her face immediately. She may still smile, but something subtle has shifted inside. A small alarm bell goes off. Does this man understand boundaries? And once that question appears, attraction begins to shrink. I remember speaking with a woman who described this. She met a man through friends. He was charming, funny, and socially skilled. Everyone liked him. But when it was time to say goodbye, he hugged her. And the hug was intense. Too intense. He pulled her in tightly, and it lingered too long. She said something interesting afterward. She didn't think he was a bad guy, but her body felt uncomfortable in that moment. And once that discomfort appeared, it changed the way she saw him for the rest of the evening. That's how sensitive these interactions can be. Attraction is not just about boldness. It's about calibrated confidence. Confidence that understands timing. Confidence that respects space. Confidence that feels natural rather than forced. The difference between presence and pressure is often just a few small adjustments in awareness. Now, let's move to the third mistake, and this one is perhaps the most subtle of all. In fact, it's so subtle that many men never realize they're doing it. This is what I call the ghost hug. The ghost hug happens when your body is physically present, but your attention is somewhere else. Your arms wrap around her, but your mind is scanning the room. Maybe you're looking over her shoulder. Maybe you're already thinking about what you're going to say next. Maybe you're distracted by your phone buzzing in your pocket. Or maybe you're feeling nervous, and your mind is racing with thoughts like, is this awkward? Am I doing this right? Should I let go? The hug technically happens, but emotionally, it never fully lands. Women are remarkably sensitive to this kind of emotional absence. They feel it immediately. And when they do, the hug starts to feel empty. Have you ever shaken someone's hand and felt like they weren't really there? Like their body was performing the gesture, but their attention was somewhere else entirely? It creates a strange disconnect. A moment that should feel human suddenly feels mechanical. That's exactly what the ghost hug does. And ironically, this mistake is incredibly common in today's distracted world. Our phones buzz constantly, our attention is fragmented, our minds are often thinking about the next task before the current moment has even finished. But emotional connection only happens in presence, and presence is something you can't fake. One woman told me about a date where the man hugged her goodbye while still glancing at his phone in his other hand. The hug lasted less than a second, and his eyes were already scanning notifications. She laughed when she told the story, but her conclusion was very clear. It made me feel like I didn't matter. That's the silent message the ghost hug sends, not intentionally, but emotionally. And when someone feels emotionally dismissed, attraction has no room to grow. Now here's the interesting part. The weak hug communicates uncertainty. The aggressive hug communicates pressure. The ghost hug communicates absence. But there is another type of hug that communicates something completely different. It communicates grounded presence. This is the hug that many women remember long after the moment ends. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was seductive, but because it felt emotionally real. This is what I call the grounded masculine hug. And before I explain how it works, I want you to understand something important. This isn't about memorizing a formula, it's about understanding the emotional qualities that make a moment feel authentic. The first quality is intentional movement. Instead of hesitating or rushing, the hug begins with calm, clear energy. You step forward naturally. Your posture is upright but relaxed. Your shoulders are open, not tense. Your posture is upright but relaxed. This physical grounding signals something powerful to the human brain: stability, and stability creates trust. The second quality is balanced contact. Your arms wrap around her with gentle firmness, not stiffness, and not excessive force. Your body is present in the hug, but you're not leaning or collapsing into it. It feels steady, warm, comfortable. The third quality is something almost no one talks about: breathing. When people feel nervous, their breathing becomes shallow and fast. That tension travels through the body and becomes noticeable in physical contact. But when your breathing is slow and relaxed, something fascinating happens. The other person's nervous system begins to mirror it. This is a phenomenon known as emotional synchronization. Human beings naturally match the rhythms of the people around them. If you're calm, others tend to relax. If you're tense, others tend to feel tense. So a relaxed breath during a hug quietly communicates emotional stability. And emotional stability is incredibly attractive. The fourth quality is timing. A good hug is not rushed, but it also doesn't linger awkwardly. Most natural hugs last somewhere between 2 and 4 seconds. That window allows the brain enough time to register warmth and connection without creating social discomfort. And then comes something that might surprise you. How the hug ends matters just as much as how it begins. When you release the hug calmly and step back with relaxed eye contact, the moment feels complete. No awkward fumbling, no sudden escape, just a smooth transition back into conversation. It's a small detail, but it leaves a lasting impression. Now I want to pause here and ask you a question. Have you ever experienced a hug that instantly made you feel comfortable around someone? Think about what made it different. Was it the strength? The warmth? The calmness? Chances are it was not a single action, but a combination of presence and authenticity. And that's the real lesson behind everything we're discussing today. Connection is not created through perfection, it's created through presence. If you're finding this conversation helpful so far, take a second to tap the like button and let me know. It helps the channel grow, and it lets me continue sharing these deeper insights about human psychology and relationships. In the next part, we're going to go even deeper into the psychology behind physical presence, including a few surprising exercises you can practice that will instantly improve the way your body communicates confidence. And trust me, one of them is so simple you can start using it the very next time you greet someone. Now let's slow everything down for a moment, because this is where the real transformation happens. Understanding the theory is helpful, but learning how to embody these ideas in real life is what actually changes your interactions with women. And the truth is, confidence in physical contact doesn't start in the moment of the hug. It starts long before that moment ever happens. It starts with how comfortable you are inside your own body. Many men try to fix awkward interactions by focusing on techniques. They look for the perfect line to say, the perfect move to make, the perfect strategy to follow. But what women feel most strongly is not technique. What they feel is the emotional state you bring into the interaction. If your body feels tense, unsure, or disconnected, that energy travels through every movement you make. Your posture becomes stiff. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your timing becomes hesitant. And all of those small signals are picked up subconsciously by the person standing in front of you. But when a man feels grounded within himself, something completely different happens. His movements slow down, his breathing deepens, his eye contact becomes relaxed instead of forced, and physical interactions, including hugs, begin to feel natural instead of awkward. So let me give you a simple exercise that might sound small, but it can make a huge difference. The next time you're standing somewhere, maybe waiting in line, maybe walking down the street, maybe just standing in your kitchen, take a moment to notice your breathing. Most people breathe high in the chest when they're distracted or stressed. The breath becomes shallow and quick. Now gently shift your breathing lower into your belly. Let the inhale expand your stomach slightly. Let the exhale be slow and relaxed. Do this for just 30 seconds. What you'll notice is that your entire body begins to soften. Your shoulders drop slightly. Your jaw relaxes. Your nervous system moves out of tension and into calm. Why does this matter for attraction? Because calm energy is magnetic. When someone stands near a person whose nervous system is relaxed and grounded, their own body begins to mirror that state. It's one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication humans have. Now imagine greeting someone while carrying that calm presence. Your movements become smoother, your smile feels genuine, and when a hug happens, it feels grounded rather than uncertain. Let me share another story that illustrates this beautifully. A man once told me about an experience he had at a reunion gathering. He had spent years working on his personal growth, learning how to slow down and become more present in social interactions. That evening, he was greeting people he hadn't seen in a long time. At one point, he hugged a woman he had known years earlier. It was a simple hug, nothing dramatic. But afterward, she paused, looked at him, and said something unexpected. "You feel really calm," she said. He hadn't said anything particularly impressive. He hadn't done anything flashy. But the way his body carried calm presence created a feeling she noticed immediately. That's the power of emotional regulation. Women don't just respond to what men do. They respond to how men make them feel emotionally. And calm, grounded energy creates a sense of safety and intrigue at the same time. Now let's talk about another practical adjustment you can start making today: posture. Most people underestimate how much posture influences emotional perception. When your shoulders are collapsed forward, when your head is tilted downward, when your body feels compressed, it communicates uncertainty even if you don't mean to. But when your posture is upright and relaxed, shoulders open, chest natural, head level, it sends a completely different signal. It says, "I'm comfortable being here." That comfort becomes contagious. When a hug happens from that posture, it naturally feels more balanced and steady. Here's a small practice you can try the next time you greet someone. Before stepping forward, pause for half a second. Not long enough to feel awkward, just long enough to become aware of your body. Relax your shoulders, take one slow breath, then move naturally into the greeting. This tiny moment of awareness changes everything. Instead of reacting automatically, you're entering the interaction with intention, and intention is something people feel. Now let's talk about timing, because timing plays a surprisingly big role in physical connection. Many men rush hugs because they feel nervous about holding the moment too long. Others linger too long because they're unsure when to release. Both reactions come from the same place: self-consciousness. But when you become comfortable with presence, timing begins to feel intuitive. 2 to 4 seconds tends to be the natural window for a greeting hug. Long enough for the nervous system to register warmth and connection, but short enough to keep the interaction smooth. During those few seconds, focus on something very simple. Be there. Not thinking about the next sentence you'll say, not worrying about whether it's awkward, just feeling the moment of human connection. Then release naturally, step back calmly, and meet her eyes with a relaxed smile. You might be surprised how powerful that final moment of eye contact can be. Eye contact after a hug reinforces emotional presence. It tells the other person that the moment mattered. Now I want to ask you something important. Have you ever noticed how some people make you feel seen when they interact with you? It's not always about what they say. Sometimes it's simply the way they give you their full attention. In a world full of distractions, full attention is incredibly rare, and rare qualities are memorable. One woman once told me about meeting a man briefly at a social event. They spoke for only a few minutes, but she remembered him weeks later. Why? because during their interaction, he seemed fully present. When they greeted each other, his hug felt warm and calm. When they spoke, he listened carefully. When they laughed, his attention didn't wander around the room. She described the experience in a simple sentence. It felt like he was actually there. That might sound obvious, but it's something many people struggle with today. Presence is powerful, and presence begins with awareness of your own body and emotions. Now, before we move into the final part of this conversation, I want to invite you to reflect on something. Think about the next time you greet someone, whether it's a date, a friend, a colleague, or someone new. Instead of focusing on doing everything perfectly, focus on just 3 things. Relax your breathing, stand with open posture, be fully present for a few seconds. That's it. Those 3 simple shifts can transform the way your body communicates confidence and warmth. And if you're finding these insights helpful so far, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who might benefit from understanding the psychology of human connection. Conversations like this help more people develop emotional awareness in a world that desperately needs it. In the final part of this video, we're going to talk about something deeper than hugs themselves. We're going to explore why small moments of presence create lasting memories in relationships, and how mastering these subtle interactions can change the way people experience you for the rest of your life. Now let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Because the truth is, this conversation has never really been about hugs. The hug is simply a doorway. It's a small moment that reveals something much deeper about human connection. When 2 people interact, especially in the early stages of getting to know each other, they are constantly exchanging emotional information. Not through words, but through tone, posture, eye contact, breathing, and subtle physical cues. Most of this communication happens below conscious awareness. That's why 2 interactions can look identical on the surface but feel completely different inside. One feels natural, relaxed, and warm. The other feels awkward, tense, or forgettable. The difference is emotional presence, and presence is something people feel immediately. I once spoke with a woman who described meeting a man at a friend's birthday gathering. They didn't talk very long, maybe 10 minutes at most. But when they greeted each other, he hugged her in a way that felt steady and calm. There was no rush, no tension, just a brief moment where she felt like he was fully there. Weeks later, she still remembered him, not because he said anything extraordinary, not because he tried to impress her, but because he made a small moment feel real. That's something very few people do consistently. Most interactions today are rushed. People are checking their phones, thinking about their next task, or worrying about how they're being perceived. But when someone shows up fully present, it stands out immediately. Presence creates emotional impact, and emotional impact creates memory. This is why mastering small interactions, like the way you greet someone, can quietly transform the way people experience you. Let's talk about another powerful element of connection that many people overlook: emotional safety. When a woman meets a man, her nervous system is constantly evaluating whether his presence feels safe, not just physically safe, but emotionally safe as well. Safety doesn't mean boring. Safety means predictable in a good way. It means your energy feels grounded instead of chaotic. It means your movements feel intentional instead of impulsive. It means your attention feels genuine instead of distracted. When someone feels emotionally safe around you, their guard begins to lower naturally. And when the guard lowers, curiosity and attraction have room to grow. This is why the grounded hug we talked about earlier can be so powerful. It communicates stability in a way that words simply cannot. Now, here's something interesting that psychologists have observed for many years. Human memory doesn't store every detail of an interaction. Instead, it stores emotional highlights. People remember how moments felt. They remember the feeling of being respected. They remember the feeling of being valued. They remember the feeling of being comfortable enough to relax. Those feelings become mental anchors. And when someone repeatedly creates positive emotional anchors, their presence becomes associated with comfort and enjoyment. This principle applies far beyond hugs. It applies to the way you greet someone, the way you listen during conversation, the way you respond when someone shares something personal. Every small moment either strengthens connection or weakens it. And the good news is that emotional awareness can be learned. It's not something you're either born with or not. It's a skill. Like any skill, it improves with practice and attention. Let me give you a simple reflection exercise that can help you build this awareness. After your next social interaction, take a moment to think about the experience. Ask yourself 3 questions. Did I feel relaxed in my body? Was I truly paying attention? Did it feel natural and unforced? These questions are not about judging yourself. They're about noticing patterns. The more aware you become of your emotional state during interactions, the easier it becomes to adjust and improve over time. Growth begins with awareness. Now I want to address something that many men quietly worry about. What if I try to be more present and it still feels awkward? What if I'm overthinking it? What if I get it wrong? Those concerns are completely normal. Human connection is not about perfection, it's about sincerity. People respond far more positively to genuine effort than to rehearsed behavior. If your intention is to be respectful, attentive, and authentic, that intention will naturally shape the way you interact. Over time, those interactions become smoother and more natural. Confidence grows through experience, not through theory alone. So the next time you greet someone, instead of worrying about whether you're doing everything perfectly, focus on something simple. Slow down. Take one relaxed breath. Give the moment your full attention. Let the interaction happen naturally. You might be surprised how quickly people respond to that kind of presence. Before we wrap up today's conversation, I want to say something important. The goal of understanding female psychology is not to manipulate anyone. The goal is to understand human emotions more deeply so that your interactions become more respectful, more meaningful, and more authentic. When 2 people feel comfortable around each other, connection becomes possible, and connection is the foundation of every healthy relationship. If you've made it this far in the video, I want to take a moment to genuinely thank you. Giving your time and attention to conversations about emotional awareness already puts you ahead of most people when it comes to personal growth. If this discussion gave you a new perspective, go ahead and tap the like button. It helps this channel reach more viewers who are interested in understanding human psychology and improving their relationships. And if you enjoy these deeper conversations about emotional intelligence, attraction, and communication, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Each week here on Mindful Senior Living, we explore the subtle psychological dynamics that shape how people connect with each other, especially as we grow older and become more aware of what truly matters in relationships. Now I'd love to hear from you. Think back to the 3 types of hugs we talked about: the weak hug, the aggressive hug, the ghost hug. Be honest with yourself. Which one have you given the most in the past? Write your answer in the comments and share what you learned from this conversation. There's no judgment here. I read as many comments as I can, and I truly enjoy seeing the insights people gain from these discussions. And as you move forward, remember this simple idea. Connection is built in small moments, in a smile, in a greeting, in the way you listen, in the way you make someone feel when you're standing right in front of them. When you bring presence into those moments, something powerful happens. People remember you, not because you tried to impress them, but because they felt something genuine in your presence. Thank you again for spending this time with me. Take care of yourselves, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video.